Okay, I did actually get some people asking me to talk about this whole situation with Hunter Avallone, which seems silly. I think what happened was him and his wife are getting a divorce, and people are going ballistic on stream about it. So I'm just gonna kind of watch this video. Apparently, he talks to a red pillar about his divorce. A red pillar grills Hunter Avallone. Well, not Avallone, Hunter over his divorce. You know, personally, why I don't know why people care that much. It's just like shit happens, man. Like things happen. I don't know. Like I feel bad for him and his wife because it's most likely that they just kind of grew apart, and sometimes that happens. And I know that there was some other stuff involved, but it was like nothing. So we'll get into it as the video goes. So let's go.
Hunter, you need to really.
Does he always title himself in the video? I think a lot of like the people in that debate sphere do. Like, yeah, I've seen Destiny do it before.
Chill, I can tell you're probably on your period or something, but just let me get a word in, okay? So pretty much.
There's no way this guy sounds like the, well, actually, guy. Come on, bro. You can't be doing that.
But women will say they want a man to cry in front of them because they think it's what men want to hear. So, and they may genuinely believe that they want a man to cry in front of them. But
I've never heard a girl ever say, I want you to cry in front of me. Like, I feel like we're weird about that. Women just want you to be, like, open about your emotions. But there's a difference between, like, crying your eyes out, bawling, tearing, and sobbing, versus just being like upset and being a little vulnerable about it. Like those are two different things. That's what we're talking about when it's like crying in front of me. So,
but once I genuinely experience it and realize that it's not very it's kind of disgusting and very, very weak of them, it oftentimes results in them leaving, and we see what happens with you and your wife.
Okay, so let me go ahead and translate.
I like how this guy's like, your wife and you were getting divorced because you cried in front of her. Wow, that's a really in-depth take. I feel bad for the young men, especially who are like, "Oh, you can't cry in front of women," because I just feel like you're gonna go through your entire life emotionally damaged. There's probably one, because people in general can be mean. There's probably one dude or one girl rather who heard them cry or saw them cry, and they're like, "Wow, I didn't like that," and that just scarred them for life. So now they just refuse to cry in front of anybody. Like that's more likely what actually happened there, right? And I think that we know that. And that's it. That's kind of what's going on there. Wow, these are like too hard for me to kill. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all that's going on. And now they're scarred for life because of one bad experience. And now they have like an entire ideology. Their entire ideology is red pill instead of like get a girlfriend, go date, practice dating, find people that you can date. Like that's focus your time like that. Probably a little more productive. But that's not what they do.
You have no evidence whatsoever that me being emotionally honest and vulnerable in front of my wife had any contributing factor whatsoever to the divorce. You're just clinging to that and repeating it to try to convince yourself it's true. I understand that you probably do the same thing as far as your father's love by repeating yourself over and over again that your dad loves you to just try to convince yourself that it's true. But again, shut the fuck up. You don't get to say...
He's getting so angry. I mean, I totally think it's justifiable. It's just funny.
Just because this thing happened in the relationship and then the relationship ended, it's the fault of that thing.
Bro, last time I cried, I was watching the movie Up. I didn't like bawl my eyes out, bro, but that's just sad. The beginning is so sad. I get tears in my wife was explosively crying at that. She was so, because you know we're very much in love, right? So it resonates with us. She was like literally tears pouring out of her face. Her face was red. She was so upset, and it's because I kept hitting her to tell her to stop crying. No, I'm just kidding. No, but your face was red and shit. I was sitting there. I was just upset. I had like a couple tears roll down my eyes. You know, that stuff is sad, man. It's so sad. But girls, you're allowed to cry. It's okay. Guys, you can't cry. It's not okay.
So I heard recently that you and your wife got into divorce, and I was wondering, because I thought it was interesting because you like to promote a lot of, I suppose, you like to tell people about how they should date and why. And you give a lot of advice on things like that. So I just thought it was interesting that you give that type of advice, yet you still get a divorce.
Do you think that having general advice on like dating and stuff, do you think that means that you should be able to make a relationship work even if it's not really compatible? Like, would you acknowledge, for example, that some of the more red pill people like Andrew Tate or Sneeko, for example, they might talk a big game about how good they are with women, and they might be really good with women, but regardless of how good they are, they're not going to be able to like make a relationship work if...
That's actually a good point. I mean, you're going to sit here and give Hunter shit because his marriage is like, you know, he's getting divorced. God bless him. But like Andrew Tate and them, they can't even get into a long-term relationship. They haven't even proved to us that they have the capacity to be with one person. And so like, how are you going to criticize Hunter? If I die, I'm going to cry, tell my mom. How are you going to give him shit for his relationship like just ending, unfortunately? When like your champions haven't even been in a long-term relationship. Like they haven't been in a functioning relationship. So
you're ultimately not compatible. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I suppose I agree with that to an extent, but
so then it could be
okay.
So if you agree with it, well, hold on, let me just finish my point really quickly. So if you agree with that, then
if there's updates to that submarine thing, if you could send in the Discord, I'll take a look at it after.
Very easily able to recognize then that I can still give advice on these issues. Hold on, no, I'm gonna finish. I have never said that if you follow my advice, you are guaranteed to be married forever, my friends. None of this has been the case. I've only given general advice for how you should treat women and the general mindset you should have in regards to women. All of which, by the way, I still stand by. And also, there's a reason why the divorce itself is also amicable and we're not having some massive falling out or going to court or anything of the sort. So regardless of how good you might be with women or how good of your advice might be, sometimes you can't force a relationship to work.
Right, but you always say that men should be able to cry in front of women and they should be able to be emotional. Yeah. And I think they should be able to show their emotion.
Yeah, like within context, like don't go babbling around, but like yes, you should be able to cry in front of people.
But when you, I think I heard you say once that you cry more than your wife or cry more than your kids.
Do you think my wife is? Wait, do you think that we are divorcing because I cried?
No.
Does he cry more than his wife? That's a little weird. I mean, like whatever, that's their relationship. I find that. I mean, I doubt that that's an independent, like a reason why they get divorced. I just find that a little bizarre. Whatever, God bless.
I don't think that's fully the reason, but I feel like maybe subconsciously that might have been part of the reason why she may have left you. I'm not going to assume, but
no, I know, but I'm asking you. So, like, what about if it was like more traditional relationship where like a woman was crying a lot, and then they got a divorce? Would you blame the woman for that, for crying a lot?
Possible, honestly. If somebody's too emotional, that could be a reason for divorce sometimes. I wouldn't do that. My wife's emotional, but I love her, so don't worry. Okay, I'm just saying.
I think so to an extent, because if a woman's crying all the time, she's probably very hard to be around.
Okay, I'm wondering because
that might be true, but bro, you gotta, if your girl starts crying a lot, you can't. Like, here's the thing, for women especially, like obviously as we get older, we're all gonna go through hormonal changes, but I feel like women specifically go through more hormonal changes than anything else because they are women and they have babies, and that like has a hormonal impact, and they go through like menopause and this and that. So I feel like it's, obviously you can't just abandon her the second that she starts like, she can't control her fucking hormones, Well, you guys could with medication, but
usually it's seen as
why is crying the only thing that people think is emotional? Because they're stupid. Like they're sitting here going like, Hunter, your wife left you because you cried, and it's like, oh well, what about the guys that beat their wives because out of their emotions? Beating a person out of when you get angry, that is an emotion. So you have all these like violent emotional men beating their wives, and that's why those relationships are ending. But like, we're not going to criticize that. In fact, we're going to platform people with like MLD, who like apparently hit a woman in like fucking Japan or Thailand or whatever the fuck, and has literally like, it's violently he gets aggressively angry. You could see he can't take accountability for anything. Or people like Fresh and Fit who say that if you were told women that they were raped, that it was their fault, they should have chose better men. Or Andrew Tate, who was a sex trafficking rapist. I mean, these are the emotionally balanced men that you're talking about. Because I think girls would prefer a guy that cries over a guy that hits them and abuses them. So I don't know, man. I mean, maybe we should start considering that emotional, because it totally is an emotional response.
As like, if a woman's crying, the man is like, I want to be chivalrous and like protect her and be there for her kind of thing. But then if a man's crying, it's like, hold on, wait. And then if a man's crying, it's like, oh, you're just a fucking loser wimp. Why don't you just pull your shit together, bro?
Yeah, bro.
I was thinking it's interesting because when women cry, they actually release pheromones that specifically turn men off.
Really?
Right. And
the goal of crying is not ever to turn somebody on or like, or it's like that doesn't make any sense. The point of it is that you should be able to be emotionally vulnerable and open with a partner. And I'm telling you right now that me being emotionally vulnerable with my partner was not the cause for the divorce whatsoever. If anything, it's the reason why if anything, it's the reason why our communication remains as solid as it is, and we are able to handle this so maturely.
Hey, sometimes you just become.
Can I talk for just a second?
To be honest with you, my understanding is Hunter has a kid. I could be wrong about this, but I actually like applaud people who have kids that get divorced amicably, because I think a big problem is people. You obviously should do your best to work through your relationship, but sometimes things happen and you just can't, right? Like, I'm not privy to the depths of a relationship, but I think it's such a toxic thing when parents stay together when they don't love each other just because you're supposed to, and raise their kids because your kids are going to pick up on your hatred for each other. The kids aren't dumb. They're going to pick up on it. they're going to absorb that information, and then they're going to act accordingly. And they're not going to know what real love is. They're going to think that like being miserable in a relationship is supposed to be what happens when you're in a relationship. And I feel like a lot of us are like that. I feel like a lot of people stay together because you're supposed to, and they don't go like, which I think hurts your ability to date. Because if you're, the problem is that if you're somebody who's going to like forcefully commit to a marriage, I feel like you're more likely to forcefully commit to a relationship too. And then you're going to have worse relationships. Like you're not going to be able to tell the signs of like a healthy relationship. So I think it's good. Like, hey, get a divorce. Why'd you guys get divorced? Oh, because like we still love each other in like in a parental way, but we've like grown apart. Like there's different types of love, and I think that that's so much better. It's so much better. Like obviously when people get divorced, it's usually bad, but that's because they're not amicable divorces where they hate each other and they use their kids as a bargaining chip. So I think that that's great. I think that that's a great thing to do. I think that that's good for the child as long as they're amicable. That's I think a big priority for me. So
yes, people are also saying you're faking your voice. Are you faking your voice?
No, I'm not faking my voice.
Okay.
He wishes he was.
Talk now without being interrupted for a second.
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, okay, now I lost my train of thought.
Oh.
Okay, so I was just going to say that I don't think that you crying all the time, or I don't know how much you're crying, but you probably cry more than the average man. I don't think that was the reason why your wife left you.
Okay.
I think it may have contributed to it because I think subconsciously she might have thought in the back of her head that you let your guard down too much, and I think that is part of the reason why she may have been. Maybe this man isn't, because women want a man that is in control and usually dominant in most situations. So if a man is crying all the time, it just shows a lack of dominance and the ability to control your emotions. Because yes, you should be able to cry, but you need to know when not to cry as well.
I know that's what I talk about. But if you're always suppressing your emotions in front of a partner, it tends to lead to regression in emotional intelligence. And
then you start beating women, right?
If you're married, hold on, wait. If you're married to somebody, then you should be able to be emotionally vulnerable with that person. I agree that if every single day you're bawling your eyes out because your McDonald's order was late, then obviously
listen. There's nothing wrong with that. It's your McDonald's order, bro. I'm trying to do that on time. I go to fast food, so it's fast, not so it's slow. Okay? That's a reasonable reason.
No, stop. And obviously there is such a thing as being like a crybaby or being not emotionally intelligent. Clearly there's an issue there.
Or being a little stinky.
On average, if the time and the place is appropriate, you are emotionally vulnerable and you cry and you let your guard down, that's okay. And all you're really doing now is just, you're saying like, I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming this is what happened. You have no proof of this. Nobody's saying this. And as far as all the evidence available, me being more emotionally available and vulnerable has, if anything, contributed to the amicable nature of the divorce ending.
Okay, let me ask you just one question.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Who is the one who initiated the divorce? Like, can you just answer that? It might be too personal, but if you can, would you mind?
Nobody initiated the divorce.
It doesn't matter who did, but he's going for the women typically initiate divorce more, so he's trying to be like, oh, well, if she did it, it's probably because you cried. Like that's the whole hot take that's meant to be portrayed here. It's going to be incredible.
We both initiated conversations about it at different times. The last time we had a conversation about it, Carissa initiated the conversation, and then we agreed that it was the best time to end the relationship.
Okay.
Because again,
so she was the one who initiated it.
No, she didn't. This is why I'm having a hard time talking to you, because you are hearing things only what you want to hear. Initiating. Hold on, no, shut the fuck up, dude.
Whoa!
Initiating a conversation.
No, it makes sense that Under be so frustrated with this. It's just such a personal thing to have to debate with fucking morons online. They probably just shouldn't. You don't have to respond to everything. But hey, you know what? God bless them.
After we've already been having a consistent conversation
she was the one thinking about it.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up, or I'm going to mute you or just kick you out of the call. Shut it. Initiating a conversation. All right, you're muted.
Oh, got him.
Initiating a conversation
to
discuss something that we've already been discussing for years during our marriage is not my wife leaving me. That's called initiating one of the many conversations that we've had on this same issue, including conversations that I myself initiated many times as well.
Open up.
So simply initiating a conversation.
I saw Hunter shouldn't yell, but I understand why he is. I feel like it's one of those things where, like, I wouldn't even really tone police him in this situation, bro. I get it. It comes, like, I get, like, typically when you're having a debate, you're supposed to be more cordial and professional. But this dude's going through a divorce, and everybody on social media is weighing in on it. It's like the guy deserves a tremendous amount of fucking, like, leeway in the way that he acts. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's fucking insane. Imagine you and your girl. I guess it's one of the crazy parts about social media that we really should talk about more, how fucking insane responses can be to situations. Like, situations a lot of times may not even necessarily be that bad. But when people online are weighing in on it, it goes fucking ballistic. it gets insane. Like online atmospheres, I feel like are a massive part of people's frustrations when it comes to their interactions, and it's so like new and hard to explain to people who aren't on social media. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm fucking like I'm not, or I'm not saying I'm a victim or anything. But I'm saying like there's obviously different experiences from like different stuff, right? But it's hard to communicate to somebody how like obnoxious it is that like everybody weighs in on every little aspect of your life, and there's never, even when you're right and you're like, hey, this is kind of like what, you know, my relationship is, or my this is, or my that is. People are like, no, you know. So it really, if it's crazy, man. You got to be careful of that shit.
And then amicably agreeing.
Got to be careful.
What happened. Just if you initiate the conversation does not mean you initiated the divorce.
I'm getting attacked.
All right, so you're unmuted now.
Okay, so I can kind of tell from the way you're talking that this is a kind of touchy subject for you, and I apologize. I didn't mean to.
Wait, bro, the fact that you weren't aware that debating his fucking divorce was going to be a touchy topic, it does show your massive lack of emotional intelligence. I didn't think that this would be a touchy subject. That'd be like if your dad died, and it's like, I didn't think that I wanted to debate you about your father's death. Do you think that it's like, oh, this is a touchy subject? Oh, I didn't realize it was so touchy to you that your dad's dead. Sorry, fucking liberal, just getting offended. Oh, but why would you even be upset? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? You should have known that this was a touchy subject, you fucking idiot, you know?
You're upset. I was just trying.
It's not a touchy subject. It's that you're being incredibly bad faith and dishonest. Hold on, no. It's that you're being no. I'm not being emotional. I'm getting frustrated, and I need to raise my voice because you don't.
He is getting emotional, but that's not a bad thing. Right, like that is an emotion coming out. Being emotional isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a good thing to express them in a healthy way, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. So I think people, when people say you're getting emotional, they say it with like it's like as a bad thing. Like, oh, you're getting emotional. Sometimes it's okay. Like expressing yourself emotionally is fun. We're human beings. It's not just about like being factious and logic. Absolutely, like there needs to be room for emotion. So
know how to stop being bad faith and weaselly.
But I'm just
like if we were purely logical beings, then like only like 1% of the population of men would be having sex, okay? Because I'm an alpha male and you're a fucking beta pussy. Just kidding. But you get my point. We are not just logical beings. We are emotional individuals as well. So
like, why would you marry somebody that you weren't compatible?
Oh, just because you wouldn't be upset over dead, that doesn't mean I wouldn't be. I would be so happy if my dad died. Oh my god. Oh my lord. This is, by the way, trigger warning, it's a joke. But what a piece of shit scumbag he was. Fuck that guy, dude. Honestly, what a scum fucking piece of shit. Yo.
But that's what I'm trying to understand, because if you marry somebody, you should be at the point
hey,
where
what's
you
going on, brother?
know that's somebody you want to be with for the rest of your life.
Do you recognize
somebody...
so do you think that do you mind if I ask how old you are?
5.
I am 19 years old.
Whoa!
Okay, so are you the same
life expert
are you
there?
The same as you were when you were like 14 years old?
I'd say I'm not entirely the same, but
you're still like
if you think that you're close, if you at 19 think that you're close to your 14-year-old self, then you are just you're dumb, or either you haven't grown up, which is really bad, or you're dumb and can't recognize your own growth. I guess I shouldn't be as rude, but Jesus Christ, like I look back, you should be looking back at yourself like every couple of years, even going like, oh, I remember when I was I'm a little bit of a better person now. It's okay.
In pieces, like you can look back at yourself and see where like that was you also, but you can also tell how you have changed and the way you think about things is a lot different now, right?
To an extent, I suppose.
Okay, cool. And have you ever maybe
hey, have you this is all you have to, are you in school? Yeah, I'm in school. Okay, let me ask you a question. What algebra? What math are you taking? Oh, I'm taking algebra 2 now. I don't know what kids taking, whatever. Oh, okay. What were you taking in when you were 4? I was counting my 1s and 2s. Okay, you grew a lot then. Like, what the fuck's happening here? What is this debate? You know?
Had a crush on somebody when you were really young, or maybe you look back now that you're 19, and you look back at like the girl you had a crush on the first time, and you realize like, wow, she was actually like not my type at all.
Bro, true. There was this one girl. She was really skinny. Her name was Jen, and I used to have a big crush on her. I wanted to date her and stuff, and I've told the story before. I'm going to tell you again. It's embarrassing as fuck. And like, she was new to the school and stuff, and I was always like simping for her. I remember this was back when AOL was a thing, right? And I tried hitting. I would put a special alert on her name when she came online, and so that I could talk to her, and it would the alert would come up, and I would go talk to her. And I remember a few years after we graduated high school, I asked her, I was like, "Hey, like if I had asked you out in high school, would you have gone out with me?" This bitch says to me, "Bro, You know what this fucking bitch said to me? Okay. She said, yeah, I was, yeah, at that time in my life, I was desperate enough. Bro. Oh my God. No wonder men hate women. You know what I mean? I mean, oh my God, what a devastating blow. I was desperate enough? You piece of shit. You know what I mean, dude? What's wrong with me? You know, I just come fat. Asshole. How fucked up is that? I look back and I laugh, you know? So, just fucking crazy shit, dude.
Does that ever happen to you?
The moments that shape you,
Really, you
dude.
don't ever look back at someone you had a crush on in your younger days and realize how much they really weren't.
Hey, maybe this guy's asexual. God bless him, you know?
I don't think so. No, most of the girls that I've liked, I've stayed pretty consistent in that. So
I don't think that's true, or you're just.
Bro, this guy's just like so dishonest. You can't have a real conversation with this guy. I don't think I ever look back at girls and go, "Come on, bro, you're being a silly goose at this point."
Too young and you haven't experienced that yet.
Yeah, that's right. Joke's on her. My wife said in the chat.
Is when you're first of all when you're an adult, and second of all, like years and years of being together, people change, dude. Me and Carissa were very compatible at first, and I also think that it was the right decision for us to be married for the time that we were. I think that was the right move at the time. But sometimes people change, and sometimes people become less compatible. And again, it is a mature thing to do to recognize that, so that we can go forward and make the best of this situation we have, rather than just sticking with something that might not be the best for anybody, just for the sake of looking good or I don't know, pleasing you.
True.
I don't know. It just seems like from what I'm hearing, and I hear what you're saying, but it just sounds like me when I got in my first breakup, when my girlfriend broke up with me. I was like, oh yeah, we aren't compatible. We changed over time. It just felt like cope. It was like a mutual decision. It was cope for the fact that she left me.
I don't understand. That's what happens sometimes. Yeah, it just sounds like when I got into a breakup with my 3-month-old girlfriend. I mean, not 3-month-old, but when I was with the girlfriend I was with for 3 months. That's what I meant to say. It's like, yeah, it does, because it's breakups are pretty standard for the most part, I would say. So good job.
People cope, but other people don't. So okay, wait, well, hold on. Some people, of course, are going to cope and be like, no, we agreed on the decision, even though it was like the girl's decision. I get that. But at the same time, that also is the case sometimes. So you can't just assume it's a cope every time. In my case, that was, hold on, stop. In my case, that was the case. And now, you clearly weren't here for long, but my ex-wife was on stream earlier, my friend, saying the same thing I'm saying.
Oh, shit.
Right, I understand that to an extent. It just seems like you're saying...
Hey, listen, I wasn't the one dating the 3-month-old. It was the guy in the video, okay? I don't know what to tell you. That's not me, dude. Girlfriend of 3 months?
To try to
there you
deal
go,
with the fact that she left you, and it's fine, but it just...
Do you feel like maybe you kind of have this belief or this feeling in your stomach that she left me, and maybe you, for whatever reason, don't like me or don't agree with some of the things I've said, and you kind of feel like that would be more compatible for your sort of view of me? Do you feel like maybe you're just sort of clinging to that? Because I'm telling you every single thing that contradicts the dumb shit you're saying, and also my ex-wife has said it too, and you're still saying like, well, I just feel like you're coping. Do you think maybe this is a problem for you?
Wait, what did you say?
I'm saying regardless of all the evidence, which is very clear that this was a mutual decision and an amicable divorce, you're still clinging to this dumb fuck idea that somehow actually she left me and I'm coping, etc., etc. I'm wondering if maybe is this a problem with you rather than with me? Maybe this is your issue with not being able to
actually with the
reverse.
It's not you.
It's before you became a member.
Hey, thank you for the medium cut. Appreciate that, brother.
I don't necessarily have a problem with you as a person. I disagree with some of your takes that men shouldn't be crying all the time. I feel like that's not a very healthy thing to do, and I feel like the situation was an example of why
shouldn't be
crying all the time is unhealthy. Because it may
So
work
you just
for a while,
confirmed
but
my point. You actually just proved my point. You said you don't agree with my advice that men should.
But it's not because I don't like you.
No. I know it's not. It's not. You don't even realize it though. That's what's funny is you already disagree with my take that men.
He's a Muppets fan. That's what the accent is. Very true. Very true.
Men should be able to cry. First of all, I never said men should be crying all the time. Never. But I'm not going to get on.
You're crying more than your wife.
But just generally just crying if you want to cry. So like, you don't agree with that. Now my marriage. Hold on, stop. Now.
Well, I personally don't think you need to cry every time you want to. You know, it's okay to hold back the tears, but sometimes you got to let them out, and you should be okay with that. It should be okay. It's not to everybody. You know, maybe when it's comfortable, when you're, you know, with somebody you love and respect and trust, somebody you can be vulnerable with, that will accept that vulnerability. Because you want to try not to get vulnerable with people you can't be vulnerable with. You don't want to do that because then you're just going to get upset. You know, you're going to get hurt in some capacity. So.
Marriage is ending, and it's compatible for you and your worldview and your sort of picture of me in your head that, well, Hunter said you should always cry, and he cried, and now he's getting a divorce.
True.
So I bet
that
it's
guy's
because
smart.
he cried that he's getting the divorce. So
Based?
for
I don't think
you,
it's because
you're
you're
clinging
biased.
to this because it's the most compatible for your
You're strawmanning
bias
it right
against me. I'm not. Oh, this is not a straw man, my friend. This is me articulating.
Ah,
what
this
you
is not a
just
straw man, my friend. I think you're talking about a red herring, or maybe an Appalachian mountain. I forget the other debate terms. Excuse me, my friend. You are currently poisoning the well. I fucking hate debate shit. It's so fucking cringe. Oh, excuse me, sir. Do you think that you're doing a jigsaw puzzle right now? Me, sir? Absolutely not. If anything, I'm steel manning your position right now. Oh, shit.
demonstrated and did.
No, I was trying to say that men that cry all the time in front of their girlfriends, it oftentimes results in them breaking up.
That's a
And
lie.
I've never seen a
Says who?
situation where it actually lasts.
Says who?
Overly emotional men, they never are able to. keep a
Overly
long
emotional is
relationship.
bad. Overly emotional is a bad thing, and men are.
Well,
overly-
not for nothing, but like, yeah, I agree. Overly emotional men are a factor in the ending of relationships. But what about the violent aspects of that too? Like, if a guy's being aggressive, that's overly emotional. And I know that a lot of these red pillars won't accept that as being emotional. That's just par for the course for them. You know, it's like, no, it's not emotional when I beat up my girlfriend. What are you freaking kidding me, dude? What are you doing? It's what it is. It's overly emotional. You can't handle your emotions. So
be emotional all the time in regards to anger and aggression too. So being
that
overly
is why-
emotional is a bad thing. But being emotional and being willing to be vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable, so long as the time and the place is appropriate, that takes strength. And that is what I say it's okay for men to do.
Right, but I feel like even if that is true, and I do believe that it's true that you should be emotionally intelligent and all of that. I don't think that men should be crying
I mean,
like
this kid wasn't even able to understand that this topic, that talking about somebody's divorce, was going to be like a touchy topic with somebody. So I mean, I don't know if you are. Don't explode. Ooh, got him.
every single day, because it gets to the point where
Who's saying that?
the
You don't
women
have
would
to. It's
definitely
more about
be-
just if that is a way that you kind of naturally express your emotions and the time and the place appropriate, then it should be okay for that. For you to
Why
do
does
that.
it have to
No
be
one's
one
saying
of
that you as a man must now cry 3 times a day. Here's your checklist. No, nobody's saying this. Nobody's saying you should be
I'm
crying all
saying
the
that.
time. Nobody's saying
Do it
also
all the
that
time.
if you are not personally someone that kind of cries, that you should just force yourself to cry. No one's saying any of this bullshit. Jordan Peterson cries on stage all the fucking time, okay? Crying in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing or a weak thing.
But people do bully him for it. You got to give him that much, you know. People do bully him for it. What? So
That is all that I've argued. And you are clinging to this idea that because I cried in front of my wife, that's why she's leaving me. So you have a preconceived bias against me, and now you
don't
hear
have a
this
bias.
information, you ignore all the facts that I'm giving you so that you can keep on clinging to the one biased view you have of me.
I will say, this is based on experience. It's not probably a good thing to tell people that they're biased, even though they clearly are, right? We've seen plenty of scenarios about that. Okay. But it doesn't, this is one of those things this is even telling myself that I got to get better at doing, is not telling people what their fucking problem is. It's identifying the problem and then getting them to realize it's their problem, right? And that's, it's just all learning how to just be better at communicating your perspective and shit sometimes. It's all, stop fucking running, dude. You're a bad guy. Stop running, bad guy. So.
Everything
from
wrong
what
with
I've
all
heard
of
from
these
you-
dumb fucks online.
Okay,
got
from
him.
what I've heard from you, she was the one who initiated it. You cry in front of her
She
all
didn't
the time.
initiate it. This is
Yes, she did. You said she was the one who started it. You said she was the first one to bring something up. Who
No,
was the
I
first one
didn't.
to
I
bring
didn't
something
say
up?
this. This is why I know you're not listening, my friend. You are so
Oh,
bad
say
faith.
that.
You're either bad faith or you're just really fucking stupid. Maybe
Probably
both.
that, yeah.
Do you think
Okay.
that maybe since you're only 19 and you've clearly only had 1 or 2 relationships that lasted more than 3 hours, that you
Did
feel
know
like
that
maybe you're
actually-
projecting a little bit on me?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Do you feel
I
like
don't
maybe you're
really
just
like
projecting?
Bro, yeah, that's another thing. Probably shouldn't be like the you're young, you don't understand, but it is true. You're young. Young people just you don't typically have as much life experience as other people, so it becomes difficult when you're I'm a young person. This kid's 19, so it's I'm 19. I got everything figured out. You don't know shit about dick, man. You're still a kid. You especially today's standards. You haven't held a career job for any length of time. You don't really know anything. You just have what you heard online in some capacity. There's no actual understanding behind what you're saying.
A little bit?
I got married last year and I'm in a very happy relationship right now, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I'm very happy with my wife right now, and I
That's
don't.
great. I hope that it remains so, But again, keep in mind that you're the one repeatedly telling me that it's men crying leading to divorce, which is just bullshit. In reality, a big
It's men
reason
being
that,
overly
no. In reality, a big reason that divorce even happens, or women will initiate divorce, is because
women
they
be
are
tripping.
not getting the emotional intimacy they need out of a partner.
Hoes
which
be
is because men
lying.
are socialized to suppress emotions.
It's either men be crying or hoes be lying. You know what I'm saying, dude? You know
which
what I'm
leads to a lack
saying,
of
bro?
emotional intelligence. So it's actually your mindset that leads to marriages falling apart.
But I have
far
the
more than
Sigma
men.
mindset. The
Women
Sigma
may say that they want a man to
grindset.
cry in front of them all the time
But you
because
can't trust
it's
women,
probably
right?
politically.
Yeah,
What?
women only say what's politically
Yeah,
correct.
women are just too stupid to understand themselves. That's his take, basically. Women are just dumb. No women is saying cry in front of me, please. I'm fucking desperate for it. Like that's like I want your cry. I want your tears. Like I want your cum. Like no girls are saying that. Like girls just want a guy that might be a little more emotionally available. And again, some women are shitty and they might like be rude to you if you express that emotional vulnerability. But you have to kind of push through that, because if you have a bit interaction with a girl and she makes you feel shitty for expressing yourself emotionally, instead of hating all women, you need to realize that like, okay, this means you picked the wrong person, right? That's what you need to get down to.
So
and if you marry
can't
them,
trust women,
you're fucked.
or even if women say this, now we can just
Because when
we,
you
now,
see
no, now we can just
demonstrated,
doubt it
it's
because
always-
all women are just lying, you know.
No, because when you see it
Oh,
demonstrated,
baby,
it results in what we
lying.
see with you. So obviously, men being overly emotional doesn't result in a long-term relationship.
No,
It
you
never
are
does.
so wrong and fallacious, and this is why I don't think you're bad. I think
Fellatio?
you're just fucking dumb. So do you realize that? Hold on, wait. You realize that the exact same argument could be made right now that, hey, you know what, dude? I think it's bad when men eat bread. And guess what? I ate bread. I ate
died.
bread a lot in front of my wife, and now I'm getting divorced.
Bro, you know what's crazy? Everybody who's had water before has died. Everybody who's breathed oxygen just died. You guys ever think to stop breathing oxygen? Stop drinking water? Idiot. Ever think about that? That's how you escape the matrix. Stop drinking water, hold your breath for long periods at a time. And you're not going to be able to do it very well, but you have an addiction to the oxygen that you breathe. So when you hold your breath, that's just you detoxing. When you cannot, that's detoxing, bro. That's detoxing. When you're like, oh, I feel so shitty. Drug addicts feel shitty after they detox as well. You're just detoxing. Okay? You trust the process. Stop breathing. Stop drinking water. That's it. You'll be cured. Any ailment you have. But if you do get thirsty, which, you know, again, that's just detoxing. I think a Gatorade. Gatorade is good. It has a lot of electrolytes in it. You know, also water the plants with your Gatorade. You know, those electrolytes are good for everybody. It's incredible stuff.
Right now.
Clearly, it's because I ate bread. Unless you're able to prove the causal link between crying then leading to the divorce, you can't just say, because you cried, and now because divorce ends, therefore it's because you cried that the divorce ends. You don't get to do that. This is why you're stupid.
Oh.
Hunter, you need to really chill. I can tell you're probably on your period or something, but just let me get a word in, okay?
That's very politically correct of you, but okay.
What do you mean?
Go ahead.
Hey, men can get their period. He's just being an SJW, bro. Trans men? Duh. I'm being serious, bro. Okay, this guy, this kid that Hunter's debating is clearly a fucking liberal.
Okay. So, I don't remember exactly everything you said, but okay. So pretty much women will say they want a man to cry in front of them
Okay. Is this kid have
because they
anything
think
else?
it's what men want to hear. So,
What?
and they may genuinely believe that they want a man to cry in front of them.
What?
But once they
Men
genuinely
wanna
experience it and
hear?
realize that it's not very, it's kind of disgusting and very, very weak of them,
Disgusting.
that oftentimes
Holy
results
shit.
in them leaving and
How hard do you think this kid's dad beat him, dude? This is horrible. It's disgusting if you cry. I think the word cringe could be, you could call sometimes crying cringe, depending on to what degree. But disgusting is wild, brother. That's crazy.
we see what happens with you and your wife.
Okay, so let me go ahead and translate. You have no evidence whatsoever that me being emotionally honest and vulnerable in front of my wife had any contributing factor whatsoever to the divorce. You're just clinging to that and repeating it to try to convince yourself it's true. I understand that you probably do the same thing as far as your father's love by repeating yourself over and over again that your dad loves you, to just try to convince yourself that it's true. But again, shut the fuck up. You don't get to say just because this thing happened in the relationship and then the relationship ended, it's the fault of that thing. Unless there is a causal link. Unless Carissa came out and said, hey, you know what? Let me be honest. Hunter was always emotional and bawling his eyes out and it was just a major turnoff and it.
Bro, imagine that does happen though, bro. Imagine like she does come forward and she says that's some wild shit. That should be fucked up. You know, she wouldn't be a real one, okay? Your girl's supposed to stand by you and just validate every bad decision you make. It'd be fucking crazy.
Led to our relationship crumbling. Unless something like that comes out, you don't get to just make up the reason why the marriage ended.
No.
And especially you don't get to just pull the idea or the reason that suits your bias against me even more.
Well, I guess I don't know what else to say. If
Actually,
you genuinely believe that you guys mutually decided to break up with each other and it was nobody's fault but you guys growing distant like
Yeah,
every
I genuinely think that, I know it's a very, very shocking thing, but I genuinely do think that I have a better understanding of why my marriage ended than you. Random caller 123 who clearly doesn't even have a
I
fully
don't
developed
know,
brain yet.
Hunter. I don't know.
I can tell you this is very emotional for you, and
It's not emotional at all. I know that you keep. The thing is you keep falling back to like, oh, you're being emotional because I'm insulting you and I'm roasting you and I'm making fun of you because you came on here and embarrassed yourself.
You sound like
in
you're on
front
a
of
bunch of tears right
500 plus people live, made a massive fool of
Damn,
yourself.
not the 500 people. Not the 500 plus people. Does that have anything to do with LGBTQ plus or what?
And we just ended while you basically said, well, women might say that they want a man who's emotional, but women don't even know what's really good for them anyway. You have a very dumb fuck, low view of women. You have a very bad view of men. Your mindset contributes to male suicidality, and now you're into your bias because you dislike me or you disagree with my one take about men crying.
Well, who's the married one in this situation? Tell me that.
Thankfully, being mad doesn't actually have anything to do with whether or not you lost the debate. I'm okay being mad when you've been bad faith and stupid the entire time.
I said who's the married one. Who's the married one right now?
Is this kid married at 19? That's gonna end. What the fuck?
Well, on paper, I'm still married, and my
who's
marriage lasted longer.
The one that's still together with
how many
wife?
of both of us here whose marriage lasted longer?
True.
Oh, I've been married.
Wait, you should have let him answer that. How long has he been married for? And how old is his wife, bro? You don't know. I mean, if you're married at 19, I feel like that's like fucking arranged marriage or something. What the fuck's going on there? That's wild. I wanted to hear him self-report, dude. Come on. I wanted to hear it.
Okay. How did he misunderstand what I was saying? You could have made the same argument that my wife left me because I ate bread.
Oh, that confirms it, guys. Hunter's wife left him because he ate bread. He became a bread tuber. I think that's a word for some. I think political people. I don't know.